You've hinted at another composition of yours, which is now underway, um, dealing with the resurrection. Um, where did the idea for this piece originate, and what are the markings of the piece? What is it? What's its scope?
Well, it grew out of the experience of writing the Passion setting of St John, and I suppose that's important. I've been working up to doing a Passion setting for many years. I suppose I've been circling around these days in human history in a number of different ways, sometimes in choral music, sometimes in liturgical music, sometimes not using text or choirs at all, sometimes in purely instrumental music. These 3 days in history seem to be a very rich theme for me, musically and creatively. But I knew that on the cards at some stage there would have to be a proper setting of the Passion text. So it was all a question of which of the four Gospels to choose. The main reason I went for St John, and there were a number of reasons, but the main reason is probably because it's most familiar to me of all the four. It's the version that is sung or recited every Good Friday in Catholic churches. So not only do I hear it every Good Friday, rather than Matthew or Luke or Mark, but I've been used to singing it myself, not in any complex setting, but in simple plain song recitations of the text. So the words are part of my whole fibre, as it were. They feel very, very natural to me because I hear them annually, cyclically throughout my life in a liturgical fashion. So it just seemed the most natural thing to do. Was to set the St John. But when I got to the death of Christ, of course that was the end of the Passion as far as the music was concerned. But then I became aware of the text that comes after, of course, and it's fascinating the way that John relates the story and the encounters that Christ has with people who don't recognise him at the beginning, and the language is beautiful. And so I wanted to continue the story, but in a very different way. My Passion setting is big, 2 choirs, quite a big orchestra and soloist, but my resurrection narrative is much smaller and much more intimate, a handful of singers and a handful of instrumentalists, so that the music goes away in quite a different and unexpected direction. I didn't like the idea of bombast with the resurrection. It's just too mysterious, I think, for that, so it had to be approached in a different way.
So this resurrection narrative piece picks up literally where the Passion stopped.
Yes, I think the last line in the Passion was, and he gave up his spirit. And the next line, I think, immediately after that is, as it was the day of preparation, and it goes on with the story of taking the body down from the cross, putting it in the tomb, and so on.
There are many wonderful resurrection moments, we might say, in the classical music repertoire, but I find it hard to think of even one major work where the resurrection is sort of the central and sole event. Why are there so many pieces that meditate on the death of Christ and so few that illumine the rest of the story?
It's a curious question, a curious issue. I think people are baffled by the resurrection. I think it comes down to that. I mean, the resurrection texts, of course, are used liturgically and have been used liturgically for hundreds, thousands of years now. So you will find resurrection music all through Christendom. But when you see what happened to the Passion narratives, they took off in a particularly formidable way with Bach, and that laid a kind of standard even for secular times. And the Passions have been the paradigm that composers, whether they're believers or not, have aspired to ever since. It's no surprise to me that the practice of writing Passions is now being rejuvenated in our own time. There's a whole new set of Passions have come forth from living composers: Wolfgang Riem, Sofia Gubaidulina, Gozhilov, and many others. And J.S. Bach has hovered over our shoulders like some kind of terrifying ghost in all of this. All human drama is there in the Passion. There's a great sense of theatre in the human dimension. The fact that there's this amazing trial scene, a courtroom drama almost between Christ and Pilate in St. John's narrative, that can't help but appeal to the dramatist in artists and composers. The resurrection is more of a mystery, how to deal with it. Perhaps there's not the same degree of conventional theatricality associated with the resurrection. It is more of a shock to the whole human system, and it requires therefore a degree of deeper reflection on the artist dealing with it as to the full implications of the resurrection.
You've commented that religious faith is rooted in the mess of everyday life, and that your music should reflect that. You've also said that there's a tension in your music between the search for the numinous and also a celebration of humanity, of the here and now. Is that tension present, or is it finding its way into the work on the resurrection narrative?
I think so. It's hard to disassociate myself objectively from it at the moment because I'm right in the middle of writing the piece. But yes, even although there's a sense of the mysterious and the unknown about a man coming back from the dead, he's still encountering living, breathing people who are grieving, who have lived through a human tragedy, who are fearing for their lives. The mess of the human condition, if you like, is very much there in those post-crucifixion encounters where he meets the women and who meets Peter, he meets Thomas, and it's a very, very human situations being impacted upon by supernatural powers in an unbelievable way. In a situation where creation is literally being turned on its head, a new life is being offered to human history.
Well, that's really something to look forward to. This piece is being premiered at the Edinburgh Festival in August of 2012, a co-commission with Edinburgh Festival, Hebrides Ensemble, King's Place, and Soli Deo Gloria. Mm-hmm.